Sebastiao Salgado is a Brazilian photojournalist famous for his sharp contrast black and white photographs, which evoke sadness and bleakness as he captures people coping with the effects of poverty, famine, industrialization, and oppression around the world. He also photographs wildlife and natural landscapes in black and white to show that simple, beautiful nature still exists. The following images are gelatin silver prints. Salgado primarily worked with a 35mm Leica camera. His first book, Other Americas, depicts rural peasants in Latin America. This image, Wood Delivery Men in Eastern Sierra Madre, was photographed in Mexico in 1980. Salgado describes the intense labor that peasants had to endure by showing 4 men carrying heavy loads of wood up a mountain and amongst the clouds. The high perspective, which forces the viewer to look down on the peasant workers, coupled with the fact that the men are in the lower one-third of the photograph, makes it clear that the men have a low socioeconomic status. This photograph exposes how people had to live because of industrialization in Latin America and calls on the United States and the rest of the world to pay attention to issues in other regions. From 1986 to 1992, Salgado visited manual laborers in large-scale industrial and agriculture sites. This led to his first long-term series, Workers. This image, taken in Brazil in 1986, is a classic picture of tension between authority and the common man. However, the gold miner has the upper hand in this dispute. I feel the tension and strength of the miner in this photograph. The low perspective gives the miner a more dominant role than the officer because the miner appears taller. The contrast and hard light highlights the miner's muscular physique. Salgado positioned this photograph to show other miners in the background, which further explains that the officer holds little authority because he is outnumbered. This is an iconic image because Salgado is able to evaluate social relations in a poor economy. Salgado's second long-term series, Migration, explores population growth and displacement around the world from 1993 to 2000. In this series, Salgado's subjects were refugees and peasants. This image, titled Refugee Calm, captures boys fleeing from South Sudan in 1993. Many of Salgado's images rely on ample natural light, but here light is limited. Salgado plays with the rule of odds as 3 people are backlit in the entrance and 5 boys are seen huddled on the ground. This photograph is ethically evaluative and important to this series because it captures how even young children are affected by displacement. Even though this scene was captured over 20 years ago, I am still fearful for the boys and horrified by the way these children had to live. Another picture presented in Migration is of Churchgate Station in India in 1995. This piece is significant because Churchgate was built by the British who oppressed the Indian people for centuries. These trains, which were created by an exploitative country, are notorious for being dangerously overcrowded. In this image, crowds of immigrants are flowing in and out of the terminal. I can feel the rush that Salgado creates because he uses time-lapse photography to capture the bustling scene. The high perspective captures the grandness of the station and abstracts the massed people between the symmetry of the trains. This photograph is different from his others because he uses blurriness to describe the scene. From 2004 to 2011, Salgado uses a 645 medium-format camera for his series Genesis, which records landscapes and wildlife. In 2005, Salgado captured mountain zebra in Africa resting. The uniformity of each zebra is eye-catching because of the repetitious pattern. The negative space provides extra emphasis on these animals. The row of zebras break the type of landscape in this image, water below and desert above. This image is aesthetically evaluative because Salgado captures life that is inherently beautiful. This is different from his earlier works of capturing human suffering and allows the viewer to see a usually unseen, magnificent aspect of the natural world. This work is significant to Salgado's career because he rediscovers landscapes and animals that are free of modern troubles. He shows his viewer that this beauty still exists on Earth, and it is our duty to reverse the damage he has shown in Workers and Migration.